Strategy 9. Turn the tables. The counter-attack strategy. Moving first, initiating the attack will often put you at a disadvantage. You are exposing your strategy and limiting your options. Instead, discover the power of holding back and letting the other side move first, giving you the flexibility to counterattack from any angle. If your opponents are aggressive, bait them into a rash attack, and that will leave them in a weak position. Learn to use their impatience, their eagerness to get at you, as a way to throw them off balance and bring you down. In difficult moments, do not despair or retreat. Any situation can be turned around. If you learn how to hold back, waiting for the right moment to launch an unexpected counterattack, weakness can become a strength. When an attacking army suddenly has to go on the defensive, its spirit crumbles, and indeed the alliance troops panic, retreating to another patch. Panic sets in within this circle because it is unusual to be suddenly going on an attack and find yourself on the defensive. You see, most of us only know how to play either offensively or defensively. Either we go on to the attack mode, charging at our enemies, desperate to push to push them back where we want them to, or we frantically try to avoid conflict. And if it is forced upon us, to ward off our enemies as best we can. Neither approach works when it excludes the other. Making offense our rule, we create enemies and risk acting rashly and losing control of our own behavior. But constant defensiveness backs us into a corner, becomes a bad habit. In either case, we are predictable. Instead, consider a third option, the Napoleonic way. At times, you seem vulnerable and defensive, getting your opponents to disregard you as a threat, to lower their guard. When the moment is right and you sense an opening, you switch to the attack mode. Make your aggression controlled and your weakness a ploy to disguise your intentions. In a dangerous moment, when those around you see only doom and gloom, the need to retreat, that is when you smell an opportunity. By playing weak, you can seduce your aggressive enemies to come at you full throttle. Then catch them off guard by switching to the offense when they least expect it. Mixing offense and defense in this fluid fashion, you will stay one step ahead of your inflexible opponents. The best blows are the ones they never see coming. However desperate the situation and the circumstances, don't despair. When there is everything to fear, be unafraid. When surrounded by dangers and a large army, do not fear. Fear none of them. When without resources, depend on resourcefulness. When surprised, take the enemy itself by surprise. Sun Tzu, The Art of War. 4th century BC. In politics, jiu-jitsu style yields endless benefits. It gives you the ability to fight without seeming aggressive. It saves energy for your opponents. Tire while you stay above the fray. And it widens your options, allowing you to build on whatever they give you. Aggression is deceptive. It inherently hides weakness. Aggressors cannot control their emotions. They cannot wait for the right moment, cannot try different approaches, cannot stop to think about how to take their enemies by surprise. In that first wave of aggression, they seem strong. But the longer the attack goes on, the clearer their underlying weaknesses and insecurity become. It is easy to give in to impatience and make the first move. But there is more strength in holding back patiently, letting the other person make the play. The inner strength will almost always prevail over outward aggression. Similar to that of a boxing arena, two boxers slugging it out, but the passive one who holds back, saves his energy, will normally have a punch left at the end of it to take down his opponent when his opponent tires, holding back, but then coming for the attack when the opponent tires. Keys to warfare. Thousands of years ago, at the dawn of military history, various strategists in different cultures noticed a peculiar phenomenon in battle. The side that was on the defensive often won in the end. No matter how small the side, it still often won. In fact, the smaller the number of the army and the mass army normally lose their war. There seem to be several reasons for this. First, once the aggressor went on the attack, he had no more surprises in store. The defender could clearly see his strategy and take protective action. Second, if the boulder could clearly see his strategy and take protective action, and if the defender could somehow turn back this initial attack, the aggressor would be left in a weak position. His army was disorganized and exhausted. It requires more energy to take land than to hold it. If the defenders could take advantage of this weakness to deliver a counterblow, they could often force the aggressor to retreat. Based on these observations, the art of the counterattack was developed. Its basic tenets were to let the enemy make the first move, actively baiting him into an aggressive attack. That would expend his energy and unbalance his lines. Then, taking advantage of the weakness and disorganization, the art was refined by theorists such as Sun Tzu and practiced by perfection by leaders like Philip of Macedon. The counterattack is in fact the origin of modern strategy, the first real example of the indirect approach to war. It represents a major breakthrough in thinking. Instead of being brutal and direct, the counterattack is subtle and deceptive, using the enemy's energy and aggression to bring about his downfall. Although it is one of the oldest and most basic strategies in warfare, it remains in many ways the most effective and has proven highly adaptable in modern conditions. It's also the strategy of Napoleon Bonaparte, T. Lawrence, Erwin Rommel, and Mao Tse-tung. Indeed, tell of the man who turns the tables, the hunted man who turns the tables. 209, a man is fitted up by a group of cutthroat brothers. They hunt him across the land. They have spread rumors of ill will that this man is a spokesman against a deviant cartel fueled by the commodity cocaine. He's hunted across the land by now 200 cutthroat brothers. He maneuvers them into weakness. They encircle him, but they find themselves being encircled themselves by their own fear and paranoia. Their own emotions are encircling themselves, their own minds. Land, time, empty time is stretching them. They have moved, they have made their move clearly. They have hunted this man. This man is passive. He holds back while his aggressors come at him full throttle. They show their hands, which directions they move, how they operate, their numbers, how they shift momentum. The passive warrior works out their stratagem of coming at him first. They are aggressive, these enemies. They cannot be without aggression, so he baits them into difficult, vast positions for them, stretches them for them to come at him full throttle with their aggression. They whistle, come close to his ear. They try to break him down. They get close to him. They headbutt him. They brow him. They test him. They stance him. They space block him. But this man still holds back. He does not show any emotion or get embroiled in their attacks. He is the passive warrior. He takes his time. He accepts a few of these whippings on the streets. He is spat at. He is abused. He is taunted with name-calling, whistles. But he holds back for when the time comes. He is but the true passive warrior. This man, now a god, half-god, living as a god, he draws his opponents into the vast land, through the fields, through the open gardens, to get them to think about their actions on an individual level. He separates them from their group context so that they think in this open, vast land of space, through the gardens in which empty time is there. They ponder as they track him and hunt him. This man holds back to reverse, but then he goes suddenly on the attack when he speeds up the momentum and he walks to the position where they wait for him, at the gate. There are stores by this gate on top of this hill. They all wait for him menacingly at the gate in these stores. He walks in to bait them into their aggressive attacks. They come at him more, but he accepts these attacks because they weaken. The more they attack, they've showed their ugly hand to the rest of the world. Their ugliness, their impatience, what cause they are fighting for. The passive warrior